Commission to order. Commissioner Feldheim, you want to lead from the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. First on the agenda, 8:45. We got a joint with the city. Thank you guys for coming. Do you want to take care of your end first?
We don't have quorum.
Oh.
We'll get him on the phone. By the time you're done, we'll maybe have him on the phone.
Sounds good. On the county side, we're looking at ordinance 471, the hedges rezone.
There are no changes from last week. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer those.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak for or against this? I'd entertain a motion to...
Second.
By Feldheim, seconded by Sutton. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries on the county side.
And then, do you want us to do set the hearing too?
It's up to Rachel, it's her meeting.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay, then the other one is, this one. Set the hearing date.
All right, so that would be hearing date setting today, published the 13th and 20th, first reading December 27th, second January 2nd, effective January 30th.
Move it.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Roll call, please, Carl.
Councilmember Bunceness, Johnson, Lunsman.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Remley.
Here.
Renane.
Here.
Ruck. Blake Hansen. Mayor Leeson.
I'm here. We have the rezoning ordinance for us is 171102. We need a motion for final adoption.
Second.
Motion Olson and second by Lunsman. Any questions from the council? Roll call, Carl.
Councilmember Lunsman.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Leeson.
Aye. That motion carries, and I need a motion to set a hearing date of December 27th for item 3, the rezoning petition.
Move. Second.
Motion Ronayne and second by Lunsman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are done. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good day.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a great
Thank you.
one. See you later.
Have a good day, everyone.
27th is a Wednesday, you knew that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
because we're closed Tuesday.
I know, it is.
Yeah, so quick, they also.
Yeah.
I'd have been here on Tuesday.
Yes.
So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Take care.
Enjoy your meeting.
Always do.
You want to take a couple your items?
Okay, minutes from the joint city, county, and general from November 28th.
Oh,
Moved by Feldheim, seconded by Sutton. Any questions, corrections on those minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, seconded by Feldheim. Questions on the claims? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
second by Feldheim. Was there any questions on that HR report? There's just a couple items on there. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. I think that'll bring us close enough to Dirk. Dirk Rogers, Superintendent for the Highway Department, right of way for Northern Valley Communications and various other things. Good morning, Dirk. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? Dirk, good. All right. No one wants to talk about the weather. That's good.
It is what it is.
Sunny day. I'd rather get a footage. I mean, from managing the cleanup angle of it, I would so much rather get a foot of snow. Plow it. Come in at 4 o'clock. Plow it. Be done.
Yeah, with that wind yesterday, you'd still be plowing today.
Oh, I know. And, I was kind of laughing. You know, Joey Schwan is former summer help as the superintendent over in Groton at the school, so I like giving him a bad time. And I was almost going to call him yesterday until I tried driving home about 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe
That's why. No, it wasn't good. It wasn't. Okay, we got things in any certain order today. I can't.
You
even
can
see
do
up
whatever
there.
you want. We have
First thing I got is right away occupancy for Northern Valley Communications. They had a piece of line go bad up here at 16 and 9, right up there by the refuge, and it's just 1,000 feet piece in there. They're going to go 1,000-foot long piece in there. They're going to go in and repair. I don't have any issues with it. Move approval.
moved from Sutton,
Second.
seconded from Feldheim. Any concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries.
I approved it yesterday, I guess. Next thing is, my technical communications instructor said never hand out a handout during the presentation because it distracts everybody, but sometimes it's a valuable tool to distract everybody. This is just a copy of the grant we're submitting that I'd got a resolution for today. This is for the, it's for the Big Bridge program. Anybody else want a copy?
50, almost a 58 score, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty high. Now, that also has a 50% match on it, so we're gonna put in, last one that we, will be building next year that we got a grant for, we actually got the grant because of the 50% match. Another county called me and yelled at me because we basically outbid them by putting in more match. Our bridge qualified and bumped theirs.
That adds to your points pretty significantly.
Yeah, it does. Now, looking at the past couple of years, the past 3 years of awards, the bottom end of those awards have been moving up about 2 points every year, which makes sense because more people are getting into the program and there's more applications every year. So I don't really want to gamble for 2 points and end up not getting the bridge funded. Same story I told you last time, and it actually happened. So I do think that 57's going to be probably on the high end, but we've been spending about $1.5 million every year on bridges, either in match or doing our own construction, so that's why I have it in there. I would rather have a certainty than have to wait another 2 years for the cycle to come around again before we can apply for it.
So if it's granted, it would be for 19? Or is this a...
No, this is the one that got rejected on the day when they opened up the bids last year. So we've gone through the complete process. Just this one and that one at Hall Pit that's getting done this year, we're on the exact same timeline right up until the awards last year. So everything's already been done with this one. This would be a 19 then, right? Yeah, because 18 we're doing the Hall Bridge, and this would be the next year. This would get awarded by April, and then you'd spend the rest of 18 getting it designed, and then you would construct it in 19.
So you'll know by April if we get that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've got a resolution that goes along with it. You can make sure I still get the links right.
Yeah.
I didn't think that bridge was that big to be a $2 million bridge.
They're about $10,000 a foot. So a 100-footer costs you $1 million. A 200-footer costs you in the neighborhood of $2 million. The one thing with this, Doug, that number also includes the construction engineering.
Okay.
So that also includes them designing it. I said that wrong. That includes the design engineering is also in there to actually design the bridge.
Okay, is there any questions on this application? Entertain a motion to go ahead and approve that.
Move.
Moved by Feldheim.
Second.
Seconded by Sutton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. This is good info, just to see what the different check boxes are too. That it doesn't
Yep.
dead end into a driveway or a
Yep.
farm or...
And if you guys are really bored someday, you can, if you go to the DOT website and click on Big Bridge Program, they do have all the awarded, the ones that applied and the ones that were awarded each of the last 2 or 3 years for the 3 different types of grants. And, I mean, you can kind of see what they're doing in there.
Sure.
This will be a roll call vote since it's a resolution. And approving the ordinance with the city will be roll call too.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we got your 2018 equipment plan for the year.
Yep. Another fascinating handout. We've been spending so much time getting the 5-year plan and the roads, as I kind of have an outline of an equipment plan in my head, but I've never sat down and really got a good solid program going forward. So I just wanted to touch base on this so that when I start into trying to get stuff next year, you guys at least have some idea of what I was talking about. The things on top there, well, first off, there's about 175, well, not about, the budget has $175,000 in equipment next year. It's pared down a little bit to help offset the cost of building our shed out there. So the things that I'm anticipating, or I would like to request to purchase, there's two used live bottoms. The total of them goes over the bid limit, so we would be able to buy one outright. The second one we would have to just do a bid for. And then a used roller. Our second old roller just went down. This one is actually replacing one we surplused 2 years ago. That was a 1978, and we sold it at the surplus sale. And then just this spring, we went to do some work on the other one. That's a 1978 that we bought in '87, surplus from somebody. And the parts are getting prohibitive trying to get parts, so I'm surplus. That one will get surplus in our surplus sale this spring, which is a separate topic from this, so I'll later and talk about that. So we're going to end up having to rent another roller in addition to this one anyway.
The used roller, what year is that, the one you're looking at buying? Does it have a date on it yet, or is it just going to be just
No,
used
it's
when you find?
no, it's one I've recognized here in town. It's an 03, I think it is. 03, 04. I can get the exact for you. Prior to that, our newest one we bought surplus from Brookings County in 04, and it was a 86, I think. So and we're going to continue chip sealing. Unless something really goes sideways and the costs really suddenly start changing, but there's such a difference. The margin between hiring that particular thing done and us doing it is pretty substantial, so I tend to keep doing it. And then just one pickup off the state bid. They've got, let's see, that one must be the Dodge. They awarded two. There's one that's 29 and one that's 1,000 more. The Ford's 1,000 more. And those are the 4 items that I had that were going to make up that $175,000 in the equipment line. Now I forgot to bring the mileage up with me for this other thing. As we're sitting right now, I don't intend to have to come and worry about this other semi now. The one that we thought was going to be about a $20,000 repair only turned out to be a couple thousand because it was a sensor. But like I said, I forgot to bring up the mileage. We have two semis, 2 sets of 2 semis that where we bought one new and one used, but they're the same year. So like in 03, I think it is, we bought a new semi. Well, 9 years later we bought an 03 that was a used semi. Those sitting beside each other, the used one has 400,000 more miles on it than the one we bought new. And we have 2 situations. We have another one, it must be an I apologize, I forgot my other list, but there's another scenario like that, and they're the same year, and the used one has 600,000 more miles on it. So right now when we're buying these used semis, which at times that's what we've had to do because of the capital outlay of getting it, made it a good value. So it wasn't probably a bad deal at the time, but when you move 300,000 miles down the road, now we've got those same year machines, and one's got 250,000 more miles on it that are the expensive miles that we're getting now and taking care of. So what's happening is when you lose an engine in one of them, what it costs to put an engine in, it's more than what the truck is worth. And we've got one that we were going to be surplusing. It still runs, but barely. We have a second one that's running on 5 cylinders. It's not going to get any worse, and it's still going down the road, so we're just going to keep running it. But both of those, to fix them, is going to be beyond what the value of them is. One of them was an old beer semi. They actually test drove that the day I interviewed here in February of 2000 is when we test drove it, and then bought it the following Monday. And it used to haul beer from Minneapolis to Budweiser, and had 1.1 million on it when the county bought it in 2000. So we're using stuff up. I'm comfortable with that, but I just wanted to throw this note in there because there's a Brookings County bid that's good until March 7th, and if it turns out that we continue to have some issues with them, I may come back in and say, hey, I want to purchase this off of the Brookings County bid, which is actually our same bid that we bought our last one off of. They just changed the
What is that
letter.
bid on? What type of truck is that bid good for?
That's on a Mack. It's identical to the last one we bought.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an evolution. We wrote some specs and then they've shopped them around a little bit and cannibalized them into next things. And I wouldn't be looking for any kind of a budget increase. It would come out of the rental equipment line, and I just have to make up for it by not hiring as much rented trucking next year, or this year. So, I'm just throwing that in there right now. It does not look like we're gonna have to do it, but we'll see what happens. Any comments or questions?
The 28 pickup on the state bid, is that a crew cab?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That last one, the one I'm driving now will go in the fleet, and I'll drive this one, and I went to the crew cab because Dwayne can attest on 2 occasions when I took out him and another commissioner and 2 other outings, it was a little cramped.
Hey, you can put a good topper on it.
As long as I get to drive, I guess. So, and
There'd be more room in the back than there was in the back seat.
And we've been utilizing the Suburban too that we got surplus from the sheriff's office when we have when 4 or 5 guys go somewhere. So that's all I got. Unless you guys have comments or questions.
Nope, any questions for Dirk?
Question for you.
Yep.
East Platte Road.
Yep.
Got some complaints that people are having a tough time seeing with the dust when they go by. They say it's really dangerous.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on, can a guy put some kind of coating to hold that down, or what does it take for a mile? Because I guess my question would be if we put some kind of proposal together and we sent that to Demcota and asked them to cost share that, would that be anything that'd be viable, or what are your thoughts?
Well, my first thought is, boy, this is a tricky one. There's a lot of moving parts there, okay? First off is, I want some action one way or the other on the hail mile. That's tied to the developer's agreement that they're being held to and to the TIF and all that, and I gotta be careful because I don't know all the details, but I've read the documents. I mean, we need something one way or the other there. I just can't sit here waiting for them to come up with the $980,000 because the hail mile needs to be addressed, and I'm gonna have to do something to at least mill that up. And when that's a mile from 10 out to 281. I don't have a problem with improving that road, and I think it should be. I'm not real excited about halfway quick fixes. There's things, there's dust proofing and stuff that would work, but again, that's a can of worms that I've turned down 100 people's requests for dust proofing last year, and we always put that on the landowner. I will say the traffic count down there for a gravel road, when there's no wind, it is a dusty area. Again, if we could get some kind of, or I guess if I could get some kind of direction from you guys on the hail mile and how to proceed with that obligation, I would have no problem in doing that mile and then the next year doing the next mile and just move across that in a logical way. But I don't want to go do that second mile and now their latest perceived issue is addressed and they lose motivation to do something with the hail mile. I guess it'd be pretty blunt, but I'm up for whatever. I mean, if we can come to some kind of agreement, I would be happy to do something. I would be happy to do any level of project down there.
You can put the magnesium or calcium chloride down. What does it take to do that for a mile, approximately?
Probably, I'm completely pitching from the hip here. Probably $2,000-3,000 probably for one application.
Per mile?
Per mile, but that I mean, if I was doing a large volume of it, then you bring it in on a rail car and your costs start going down and stuff like that. If you're gonna do just a mile one time, then you'd use our local guys.
It's not quite 3 miles, is it? Is it 2 3/4 or to the next road over by Central where it comes out at Central? Is that 3 miles exactly? Or
Let's see, it's, be one over to Dakota and then one to Roosevelt.
So it'd be 2 and 3/8 mile of concrete there, 2 and whatever, 5/8.
But if you're trying to do something to address that distance, I wouldn't recommend the dust proofing. I would think we should go a direction and put some kind of hard surface something down there and actually do it. Because especially, even if we did it now or in the spring, if it doesn't rain or we go into a dry stretch, that dust proofing's just gonna go away. So,
Well, I think we need to ramp up efforts to get them to pony up on what they agreed to on that hail mile, because that's continued to deteriorate and the costs are only going to escalate. But that was part of the deal, and I think right after the first of the year, we need to start negotiations with the beef plant to put that on the schedule for next year.
if I could get some kind of direction on that hail mile, we could start working on that other one as soon as, I mean, I can work that in anywhere. I don't want to say as soon as next year, but I'm just saying it, you know, and I think I agree with you, I think it's something that we need to
Well,
do.
you got buses running on that, you got kids driving on from
Yep.
Central, you got a lot of traffic, you got mail route down there. You know, it's not an average gravel road where you might occasionally pass a car on a gravel road. That was, got heavy traffic on it, I guess. I don't know, can you put an oil base down in the spring just to kind of keep the dust down, or does that not work, or? I mean, I guess, you know, I'm not looking for a 5-year fix. I guess I'm looking for the fact that if there's an accident, you know, if it's $5,000 a mile and you got 2.5 miles, and if we can get them just to cost share it just to take care of the dust control is all I'm looking at. I mean, I'm not looking to fix the road, I'm looking to control the dust problem.
If you just wanted to control the dust problem, then I would do something else. I would shoot some oil down there and try to do a half-ass blotter and see if it held up. I don't have a lot of faith in it without addressing something underneath. And probably from there, I mean, this is the rub with the whole thing. I had this in the budget to pay 4 of those miles for $600,000 in like 2003, and one of your former commissioners talked me out of it, and I must not have cared too much because I didn't put up much of a fight. But, you know, we could do what we do on the road for $200,000 a mile, maybe $300,000 a mile, and it would be paved, you know. So, I mean, we can try some stuff. Well,
I guess we wouldn't have to do the full 3 miles.
My confidence level.
You could put an oil, say you put an oil down on a mile of it and just kind of see how it held up. I mean, there's no sense putting it on all 3 miles and finding out that it only lasts 6 weeks. I mean, if you're gonna, you know, and I don't know if you'd ever get them to cost share it, but I think it's a point you bring up to them. I mean, if it's gonna be a $6,000 bill, hey, pony up and pay 3 of it.
And it isn't any of those, like your oil or your, the calcium chloride, then you can't blade it, right? 'Cause
Right.
then you defeat the purpose. So it's
Right.
either gonna be dusty or it's gonna be rough, and you can't have both unless we go ahead and blotter or...
Right, that's the other reason, and the other thing is, like, I got a good idea, the oil, bituminous oil will take care of the dust problem into perpetuity. Now, whether or not it breaks up because of what you shot it on is a different story, whereas dust proofing, and I'm not anti-dust proofing, but it is a temporary, it proofs something, it doesn't completely change it, you know, I don't know. I'm not a fan of dust proofing for that reason, and 2 reasons. One is you never know how long it's going to last, and secondly, your roads are, and the people that didn't participate in the dust proofing have to still drive on the pockmarked road. And I'm sure there's some local businessmen, if they're watching the meeting, they're probably not real happy with me, but I mean, that's just my 2 cents worth. It's good for around a farm, and it's good for in front of a place on a gravel road if that's what they want to do. It has limitations when you start stretching it out. So, but back to your original question, I think there's something we could do. Now, if you guys remember, you told me to do it, so when it goes to hell, that I'm not hanging out on an island, that'd be nice, but but I would, you know, I think what you're saying, I think we could go down there, probably throw a skip of gravel on it, work it up, roll it, water it, get it good and compacted there for a mile, and then try priming it, maybe even throw some, you know, once you're done with that, even if we actually put a chip seal on there, it wouldn't be a huge amount. But having said all that and rambled on, I still want some definition on that other deal, and because it's hard for me and actually for us all to plan going forward if, I mean, I'm sitting here waiting for that road to get bad enough until what? Until someone either gives us money or you gotta march on the courthouse to get it fixed.
So maybe in the back of our minds, we're thinking of what the plan might be for those, but maybe January 1st, like Dwayne said, we hit them with the big dog and say, hey, we have this agreement, and where are you guys at with it? Can we tackle this? Because we don't want to do the little thing and then come back and have the big thing.
And I don't think the dust proofing or whatever we're trying to do with that has really nothing to do with the beef plant. As far as my concern is the people that drive that road. It's not the beef plant that
Right.
but if it's kind of created that monster, so they should be responsible for some of that dust control, whatever we have to do in that part is what I'm saying. I mean,
Right.
I guess I'm more worried about an accident happening down there and...
Right. And the other thing is, there's other businesses that put down dust proofing that we don't participate with, other than if the guy putting it down gives us a call ahead of time, we go fluff the road up so it's as bladed as it can be, and then the dust proofing will perform better as well. But outside of that, we don't cost share dust proofing with anybody else. But we also don't have, a gravel road with that much car traffic on it either, probably between there and the beef plant, so.
All right, any other questions for Dirk at this juncture? Thank you for your time.
Sure,
Appreciate you coming in.
It was great to be here.
We'll see you again.
Thanks, Dirk.
I've got some pulled out of here.
Okay, I was looking for the next one, the vehicle for equalization. Next on the agenda, we got Michael Hauke Jr., Director of Equalization, vehicle repair or replacement. What are we looking at? How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm
Nothing
good,
in
thank
there on
you.
that? Okay. Yes.
The Envoy, our 2006 Envoy, had a real bad vibration. Stuck some braces with it this year. It's got about 142,000 miles on it. Took it over to Hovind, talked to him this morning. The 4x4 actuator in front end that goes to the axle blew out. About $900 to get it fixed. I was under the direction that we didn't want to stick a lot of money into it. Surplus is probably worth $1,500. On top of that, we'll probably need about $1,000 worth of suspension work. That will get us probably another year. The engine runs good, so I don't know what we want to do with the Chevy Envoy. I did look at Fed surplus on an 09 Jeep that under our current budget we can move some things around, frozen the budget that we can maybe look at.
Is that a four-wheel drive?
It is four-wheel
Do we need
drive.
four-wheel drive?
It is nicer out on the gravel roads, but really even sedans, they didn't have that many sedans, especially at that value or that price point. Everything was $10,000, $11,000.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Have we looked into, I'm not all for spending a ton of money, but rather than continuing to buy the 10, 11, 12-year-old vehicles, and my concern with a four-wheel drive vehicle is it just compounds the amount of money that you potentially have to spend on repairs. Have we looked on the state bid to see if we could actually purchase a reasonable price, and I'll use a Chevy Malibu because I know some of the state vehicles are Chevy Malibus. Actually purchase a new vehicle would have a 3-year warranty, number one, and the few miles that we put on them, I mean, some of them get more miles, but then you've got a brand new vehicle, it's got a 3-year warranty, and I mean, you cost that or pencil that out over 10 years, we're probably not going to spend a whole lot more than continuing to buy used vehicles that the potential is there to be a money pit, especially the four-wheel drives. And if there's something on the state bid, and again, a Chevy Malibu or a Toyota Camry or something along that size that would be a decent car for your appraisers to go out into the county with, we may be money ahead in the long run when you cost that out over the next 10 years, because they should have some pretty good life to them.
I did look on the state bid, 17,160, just under 18,000 was the cheapest one.
For brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look into it. I mean, once you start go 4x4s, then you're at 35,000.
Exactly.
31,000 or so.
And I know it's double what you're projecting to spend on this one, but again, you factor that out over 5 to 8 years or whatever, it might be money well spent, I feel anyway.
Sounds like Dirk's having a surplus sale in the spring. I guess I would say we don't keep fixing this one. What do you guys think?
Well, if you got 900, plus you said there's an additional,
Well, yeah, we'll need another $1,000 worth of suspension, 900 to get it fixed now, and then if we want to look at the suspension, which is pretty rough, even the Impala that we've got out, the 09, the old Sheriff Impala's only got 99,000 suspension shot. You start looking at it, yeah, those old Sheriff vehicles seems like they don't have suspension on them, so,
It's crazy, isn't it, from the sheriff's department?
but, I mean, I don't,
Yeah, Dirk.
What Dwayne's saying and our experience is, when I first came back, we were buying all federal surplus stuff. And one thing that's happened with federal surplus is their prices have gone up, and there's not any, that's why we completely moved away from it. Also, what I just got done telling you about the semis is the same thing that Michael's representing here. Is I can almost guarantee what Dwayne's saying, because we still have pickups we bought off of the state bid in 2001 and 2002 when we started doing it, and they're still running. Almost every pickup we've surplused in the last, 4 years since I've been back was something that came from federal surplus with 80,000 miles on it. And as far as buying a 2-year-old vehicle off a lot in Aberdeen, even if you get a good value on it, there just isn't a better governmental deal for us, unless the capital outlay part of it gets to be too huge, depending on what you're buying. But I'm just going along with what you're saying. Everything I've ever done regarding how we use up the pickups, there's no comparison, because we get in them pretty cheap. I mean, the one that I just talked about is $13,000 under sticker if I go out to the Chrysler Center. So I'm just saying that I think, again,
Makes more sense.
yeah, maybe I'm a taxpayer right now. I'm not sure if I'm just saying that's a way better deal if you can manage the capital outlay part of it.
well, the state bid, you're looking at new vehicles, and I've never been a fan of buying new because you absorb all depreciation. I've always bought a vehicle that's got 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 miles on it. So you're talking a vehicle that's coming off lease from whether GM or Ford or whatever. You usually find some pretty decent deals by going to those, whether it be, and that's kind of the way I've always approached. I was in the car business for years, and they'll tell you the worst thing you do is buy a new vehicle because you absorb all the depreciation, where if you buy a vehicle that's under 10,000 miles, these vehicles are running 100, 150,000 miles pretty easily nowadays. You got a lot, and you don't put many miles in a vehicle. If you could find something that was off lease or a program car or whatever, I think it'd be cheaper than the $17,000. And you'd have a fairly new vehicle.
Did we budget for anything in 18 for, what was your vehicle expense for the office?
very little. It was, the only reason that we have money left over this year was because everybody didn't have to go to school. So there's some travel money that's left, and some fly line. I cut some flies off about a month and a half ago.
How much is left?
About 11,000, and that even includes, we had to pick up two directors, wasn't budgeted for this year, so that's about $7,000 this year that we had to absorb already,
Yeah.
or it would be a little higher, so.
And I agree with what you're saying.
And the other thing is, we're going out in the country, I don't know that four-wheel drive is a necessity, but you get into a lot of your SUVs, they have all-wheel drive, which are just as superior as a four-wheel drive. So, there's more to pick from in the SUV with an all-wheel drive type setup than there is going to a four-wheel drive. So that's the other option I would look at, is saying, hey, go SUV and get something with an all-wheel drive in it. And, they range a little bit more than a front-wheel drive, but it's not like when you go to four-wheel drive that it jumps substantially more. That would be another option, is look at something in an SUV line that has an all-wheel drive, and that's just my thoughts.
Car salesman.
Where do I sign?
So I think the direction you're getting is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is not to put any more into the Envoy.
Okay, so we'll...
Start kind of looking for something, if not new, then slightly used, with just under that 10,000, or see if we can't find something. My preference is, I don't think we need an SUV. I think that, maybe 6-7 years ago with the road conditions, then we probably did, but I think we're making some headway here, even the township roads, county roads, I think a car is fine, but you see what you can find and bring it to us. Any other
Alright.
comments or questions for Michael?
No, like Doug said, off-lease, some of those vehicles, you know, they get rid of them pretty low miles, and they're still in good shape, so I agree with that also.
So that Envoy will need to almost surplus immediately because it's not
I think
drivable.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it blew up.
Don't you guys?
Do we have anything that you
can?
we can filter over to him for the time being until we get the...
be parked.
Is there any vehicles that are currently not being used by any other departments?
He can come get that Suburban if he wants.
Yeah,
We can work around
I
that.
mentioned that to him a couple
Right now.
weeks ago, that might be a possibility for,
Well, is Scott's Tahoe available since he's out for...
the key's not here. We talked about that too, but, we could try and get that, but,
But that would be a vehicle that's gonna sit for a month, isn't it?
yeah, yep.
That could be utilized.
Or we got,
Either way, Michael, if you need something, if you need the Suburban, just call out there and we'll get it for you.
Okay, will do.
anything else from your office? How's everything else rolling?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, the last thing is we'll have to look at maybe seeing if we can get a third vehicle, because there's 6 of us that go out for appraisal. A little easier next year. I know we've got some surplus vehicles coming out. We'll, you know, 2 people per vehicle make it much easier to do it, to aggressively do what we need to hit.
Sure. Good.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Next on the agenda, Chris White, State's Attorney, Personnel.
It's listed as personnel, and generally it is. It has to do with my November 29th letter that I had sent out, had Gary distribute. So I'm looking to get approval on that proposal. Just real quick what it is, going back to far before my time, I even had to tap into Penny's history on this issue. She said she doesn't think it was ever at any time that the attorneys would clock in and out. But now we're to that point with Sundial that I think it's important for us to look into that, both for the county's sake and the employees' sake. One of the things that me and Gary have talked about is if we had, God forbid, a situation where an attorney at our office that is salaried, that isn't required to punch in and out and get vacation and sick leave, has terminal illness of some sort, cancer, would be the example I would use. How long can that person be out and have the county still pay them? And then, you know, on the flip side, for that employee, they should be in the sick bank. I think that would be helpful to them. What I don't want to run into is having somebody out with some kind of disease like that and then have to come to you folks and say, hey, I need another employee or another attorney in my office because we can't swing it. And then you're telling me, well, you got to let this person go because we're currently paying them full-time right now. But I think this proposal I have will fix that problem. It'll put them in the same category as all the other county employees. And this is what I propose, and I'll answer any questions you have.
So are you saying that everybody will start with what Ross is starting at, or what are you starting the others at, since he was the last hired?
Yep, so Carly, Ryan, Ernest, and Brittany would all start with 1 pay period for both vacation and sick leave, and then they would also get waived into the sick bank. And then because Ross started in September, he would have 8 pay periods, so I just did the math from Section E of the policy. So Ross would start with 28 hours vacation, 36 hours sick, and he would also waive into the sick bank.
So why is Ross getting 8 and the others only 1? Because they were already accumulated it? Why are we shorting the ones that have been here longer? What aren't I understanding?
I'm sorry, it says the 1 pay period means 80 hours.
Oh,
Yeah, 1 pay period would be 80 hours. So Ross would be getting 28 vacation, 36 sick, the others would be getting 80 and 80.
80 and 80, gotcha.
So how is that being monitored now for the people that have been here for a number of years, as far as they're sick and their vacation leave? How is that being monitored at this point?
By the state's attorney. It's a professional office, and I think that's the way it's gone forever. It hasn't been a problem, and if it ever was, while I was state's attorney, I'd have to sit the person down and talk to them. I don't know how it was monitored in the past. Well, I know that was the same situation when Larry was state's attorney, but before that,
The deputy state's attorney has never been on the county sick bank or vacation, and You know, sometimes you'd have people that work for the county 5, 6, 7 years, and when they're done, they don't take anything with them. They just walk away. The danger to the county is Chris mentioned, is if you get somebody that's got a long-term illness, where do you draw the line? And this helps then quantify it in some way that makes it easier to make those sorts of decisions should you have to do that.
And I'll tell you this, I checked around with other counties, all the bigger counties already do this, the proposed way, so that the attorneys are checking in and out, and vacation and sick. There's, I think, one other county close to our size that does what we've done forever. Just come and go as you please, and it's kind of ran as a professional office, and you don't clock in and out. You don't have vacation or sick.
So is there a budget impact to this, or it's just the way we're tracking it?
No, there wouldn't be a budget impact, and just the way we're tracking it. And
Better documented.
Yep, better documented, and I'm proposing it now so we can get everybody into Sundial, and Joe can probably get all these folks plugged in before January 1st.
Just seems to make more sense at this point, since they have employees that are staying for a lot longer than they used to in the past. You know, we used to be kind of a revolving door for a number of years, that people were year or two, and then they were moving on to the next thing, and it's gotten a lot more stable now, so this seems like a good time to make that move.
And I can tell you this, the employees that are going to fall under this, they all don't love it.
And they work 8 to 5, and so if the 7-minute rule, you know, applies.
Everybody works 8 to 5, but I can tell you, and Gary, when I was talking to him about this, I said, there's many weeks we put in 100 hours. He's like, no way. I said, trial weeks. We come in from 8 in the morning on the weekends till midnight some nights, and then during the trial you're here from 6 a.m. till midnight every single day of the week, and that goes on for 2 weeks sometimes. So you wouldn't get the overtime or anything like that, but it would be 8 to 5 like everybody else. However, Sundial works for all the other employees.
How
work
is,
for us.
I mean,
Salaried employees don't get
Sundial
overtime anyway.
Yeah, Sundial is just a means of tracking time. It's your fair labor laws that is going to affect, if they're punching into Sundial, they could come back and claim that overtime.
What they're doing is if they come in at 6 a.m., they're punching at 6 a.m. If they leave at 8 at night, they're punching out at 8 at night, but they're getting the same salary pay
Right.
they're already getting paid.
Right, but check with fair labor.
It's not an
No
issue anywhere else,
different
I
than
don't
every
think.
department head in the county. That's what we do.
For the salaried position, what are you saying?
We don't get paid for it.
Okay.
Is there any
I was
other,
always under the understanding if your appointed people track their time, and can't just leave for 2 hours early someday without taking the benefit, that's the give and take.
I don't think that's true. I can look into it, but I don't
Okay.
think that's true.
And this is years ago, so it may have changed.
all right, any other questions for Chris?
Just one final comment. You know, 5 or 6 years ago, the commission decided they wanted a more professional state's attorney and state's attorney office, and this is just another step in that progression to kind of bring it into this kind of a professional, long-term kind of a situation. So it's just one more step.
So do we have to change our policy manual then to add salary employees?
Is that by resolution or not?
Well, you're going to have to decide if this is just for the state's attorney's office or for...
Are there others not being covered like this, that are salaried?
We're the only office in the county that does it this way right now. Now, remember, I'm elected. I'm not proposing to fall under this because I don't think I can. Frankly, I wish I could, because if I ever left, I'm going to get money when I leave. But it doesn't work that way. I think we're the only office, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I think we're one of 2 offices in the entire state that do it the way we're doing it right now.
that the attorneys in your office do not earn sick leave and vacation.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I would make the motion to approve this proposal, whether it be by resolution or however the steps we need to take to make this part of the policy manual, but I'll make that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion from Sutton on the table, is there a second?
I would second that.
second from Feldheim. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And I don't believe this will change anything in the policy manual,
Okay.
just so
No,
everyone knows.
but you're retroacting it?
It's starting January 1st,
Of 2018.
2018, yes.
But we are putting some accrued hours in.
Yes, like I said in the letter, we can't go back and track people's time because we've never tracked it, so this is what we're proposing.
I'll
So
give
in-
her my copy so she's got the
So on
numbers.
the first payroll of 2018, these accrued hours will automatically go into their system or their
So
record.
they've
That's
never
what's
taken any
proposed.
sick leave or vacation in all the time they've been here.
Absolutely, they have. That's why they're getting
But
we're
they'd have a
proposing to
lot
get 80
more.
hours because the
They'd
max...
have a lot more if they had been accruing.
Yeah,
at
the max is what,
beginning.
300 or whatever it is. I mean, if I went through, actually, I can tell you this, if I went through and tracked Ernest, he's getting less than he should have. The guy's never taken a vacation or a sick day, ever. But we had to do something fair across the board for everybody that we're proposing.
Okay, we'll have you guys work on that throughout the week. If there's any issues that come up, just bring them back to us, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
That brings us to the end of the regular agenda. We will go on to Maxine's list.
RFP for clubhouse concession.
Did you guys get that email about the counter offer?
I did.
Everybody, did you get that email?
Yeah, but I guess
A lot to think about. Maybe we
Not
should
quite-
wait when all
not
five
quite
are here?
decide where we
I
need
think
to go
we
with
better,
it.
I think we better wait for input from the
Yeah,
other two.
we're gonna wait till the full board's here. Okay.
There was the agreement with South Dakota Department of Health for the Brown County Community Health Centers. It's a prorated salary of an employee.
Like 18,000 from ours
18,000
and
and
theirs.
change. I'd move it.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Abatements.
Move.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Any questions on those abatements? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
We had two old Oki data printers downstairs in our vault that were missed on the surplus sale. We need to declare those printers surplus, and according to IT, they're not worth anything, so they would just go to the landfill.
Move.
Okay, motion from
Second.
Sutton, second from Feldheim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Do you want to wait on the Centennial Village Annual Report until you visit with
Yeah.
Marcus?
I'm meeting with them on Saturday, so I'll get back to you if I find out.
Okay.
Joint cooperative agreement with NECOG for 2018.
Move. Second.
From Sutton, seconded from Feldheim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
There was a proposal from Plains Commerce Bank for a subordination agreement. A couple are trying to buy a house. Well, actually, it's just an individual is trying to buy a house, and the bank would be willing to loan the money if we subordinate our poor relief lien under their mortgage rather than above their mortgage.
Stay on the property, so,
Yeah.
yep, I'm okay with that, I'll move it.
Second.
Motion from Sutton, seconded from Feldheim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, going through the budget figures, we do need to authorize advertising a budget supplement for 24/7 may go over what they anticipated to spend, but they have cash in their special revenue fund. The same with the POD and Register of Deeds modernization and preservation money. The money's there, but in order to spend it, they need a budget supplement for the spending authority. So, those three we definitely need to hold a budget hearing on. Other months that I've analyzed, I just took the current budget left and used November as the month spent to see if they're going to have enough money for the end of the year. And we have $250,000 in contingency, It looks like the contingency will cover most of them, which would be about $240,000 of the contingency. There are two departments, though, that are way above the contingency. Court-appointed legal counsel. At the end of November, that account is $179,000 in the red, and in November they spent almost $120,000. I can see most of the attorneys trying to wrap up cases by the end of the year, so that would need probably close to $300,000. And the jail, November 30th, they're overspent by $231,000, and in November they spent $182,000. They would probably need $400,000 supplement.
So
Ouch.
700,000 total between the two.
Yeah.
That's painful.
That is painful.
On the court appointed, do we have any funds coming back for,
Right, but we don't have revolving accounts. Any money we take in this year is designated for next year's budget. And you have to have spending authority in order to spend money. The saying is, you can have $1 million, but if you don't have spending authority, you can't spend a dime. Or you could have $1 million budget, but you don't have any money, you can't spend a dime.
How much is in our surplus? Cash?
When we calculated the budget, it was a little over $1 million. One thing about it, the other departments that are not going over, the balance to be spent is over $1 million. So with the departments turning back money, we'll absorb some of the departments that are going over.
so your motion, do you need that in the form of a dollar amount or just the motion to
Dollar
authorize the
amount.
spending?
And if you don't need that much, you don't have
You
to
don't spend it.
supplement that much, right?
Right.
But you need to
Well,
cover
We supplement it, but
that.
the cash is all in the general anyway,
Right,
so no
right.
cash moves
Right.
back and forth.
Right.
It's just the spending authority.
So would you suggest we use $1 million spending authority?
No, I would-
750?
I would
Because
go
I-
300 for court appointed and 400,000 for jail. The 700,000 for those, and then the 24/7, 4,800 pod. They've spent $649. I'll check to see if they're spending any more. And registered deeds, modernization and preservation, she's spent $12,007, and I'll see if she's going to spend any more. Those can be exact amounts.
So 700,000 out of the general fund, 300,000 or whatever out of other funds.
Other funds.
Right.
Yeah.
I would make that motion to authorize the spending authority.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Feldheim, second from Sutton.
Okay, and what this does, it authorizes me to advertise a budget hearing, which will be held, I have to publish twice, so the hearing will be the 27th, when we meet in December.
In the meantime, we can check with those departments that are, well, at least the one department that's substantially over. Because we were told that there were funds available. I don't think it was projected to go that far
Right.
over budget. So
And
we can check.
here.
maybe there was something unusual with November's expenditures to be 120,000.
Mark, Tom,
Yes.
would you guys come on in? We're talking budgets right now.
Not about ours, are you?
Just jail, the jail aspect of things.
That's not doing very well.
No. When we did the vehicle, we had thought we had extra in there, and it looks like we're...
No, the jail,
That's
the
the
vehicle was...
Oh, that was on
sheriff.
sheriff, but...
Yeah, we got that, I think you sent that, well, we got that $20,000 check. You
send that to me, or did Sandy?
The 20,000 for,
The reimbursement.
The reimbursement for the cameras. Yeah, that was sent
Okay.
over weeks ago, yeah.
oh, okay. And that would be sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
not jail.
No.
Okay, here's your November jail. It's, whoops, I grabbed the wrong sheet. It's all on here. 230 in the red, and in November, your total expenditures were 181. So to cushion it, your expenditures might not be that much in December, but I added the two together, came up with 412 and rounded it to 400 for the budget.
Yeah, I don't think you put anything in the wages for the new employees for the jail
No,
for
it's-
2017, so that's probably a big part of it. And I
Part
would
of it
guess-
is the wages.
Yeah, and I would guess the medical expenses have gone, I mean, they're way,
What are the line items for medical?
I know we just submitted a whole bunch 2 weeks ago.
Doctors and hospital, that's overspent 12.5. Grocery, no,
Groceries are over 16.3.
16. Medications is okay, it's just
Well, we had
13.
such an increase with volume of, now we're down quite a bit, but during the...
And so maybe the December expenditures will be
Yeah, I think
lower
we're
than
down to,
November.
what was it today, 40, 37 or something like that, inmates, where we usually been about 60 or 65,
I thought it
so...
was 57 today.
Is it?
Yeah, I think we've been running
Is
high
it
the last
back
week.
this
week
again? Yeah, that's...
Well, we've got the motion and the
control.
second for authorized spending authority and setting that hearing and whatnot. I didn't take the vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So we'll do the budget supplement for 4, and then hopefully it comes in a lot less than that. But
Yeah, I'll sit down and go through exactly where we're at today and bring it over to you too, because we'll have
yeah,
day by day.
and JDC line
Yep,
and jail, I'll have to do that
the
auto
sheriff.
supplement, and that
Okay.
should cover you.
And for the record, the salaries, the personnel part of it is over 219,000. So that's a big
Yeah, we
Big part of
year.
it.
We
But
didn't
that
put in,
wasn't budgeted
Yeah,
for.
that's the ones we didn't-
Personnel.
put in for what we had to hire.
And that's just through November, so that will be probably 250,000 over alone.
Yeah.
Just
That was for back sheet.
All right, anything else on that?
No,
Okay, while we're talking about that, we're going to segue into, the sheriff and I received some correspondence from the Fifth Judicial Court yesterday. It's not officially signed, but it is coming, so I'm going to go ahead and read that. Dealing with courtroom security. We, the undersigned judicial officers of the Fifth Circuit Court, have been made aware that the Brown County Commission does not have any immediate plans to provide a secure courthouse. Therefore, it is hereby ordered pursuant to SDCL 7-12-3 that the sheriff or his designee shall attend all sessions of court. The sheriff shall ensure that all security officers designated for this duty are appropriately qualified and trained. This order will take effect on February 5th, 2018, and will remain in effect until rescinded by the undersigned if and when appropriate measures are taken to secure the courthouse. And then it's going to be signed by the 5 judges in the Fifth Circuit. So, wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. I also passed out a schedule. Mark and I had talked about, you know, the deputies that we have currently, what would have to happen if we were to have a deputy in every single courtroom. You had said currently 9
We have,
and 3 in the...
we have 3 in the jail and 7 in the field, or 8 in the field now.
Skip, I can't remember the exact number. Everybody's just so excited to have them all
I think
trained.
9.
11 deputies and 1 investigator.
Yeah, but the one is gonna be, so we have 2 taking Ross's position.
Sure.
So then we'll have 10 field deputies.
9.
9, I mean.
Yep. So we'll have 9 field deputies, and then 1 will go to investigations. You've got 2 investigators, and you've got 3 assigned to the jail. So that kind of uses up all those slots.
Kind of
3
things.
aside from the 9. 3 or 3
3
of
that are
the 9.
assigned to the jail.
3 of the
Yeah,
9 are.
there's 9 in the field.
Okay?
Yep.
And then 3 on top of that in the jail.
3 are in the jail. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
3 of the 9?
Nope, nope, nope.
Okay,
There's-
an additional 3.
Yeah,
An
there's
additional 3.
Field
Gotcha.
deputies and then assigned to the jail.
So, at this juncture, we need to be brainstorming how we're gonna do that. We just heard
You know,
from
just-
Maxine that we have no money, so.
To give you an example, for the month of November, we had 19 trips that we had to take, 8 of which were on Tuesdays and Fridays when we had the van, 11 of which were deputies had to take. So it's like Thursday afternoon, Tom and I try to each be there. He has to take a trip, he'll go, I'll be there, so on and so forth, but he said, we got a trip tomorrow, I might have to take it. Well, he called me later and says, no problem, because I got a deputy that's gonna go to Yankton. So the deputy took off at 7 in the morning, went to Yankton, and I had an appointment at 8 o'clock. And when I come back in, Tom was supposed to be there when his lights are off at his office. He had to leave at 8:30 to go to Sioux Falls to take somebody down. And we thought, well, okay, well, then again, on Saturday, we get called, and we have to take another person down to Yankton. So the trips have really, you know, that takes a lot of time, especially when you have to use 2 deputies, because a lot of these people that go to places like Yankton and stuff are uncontrollable, you know, and they have to be restrained, and we want to make sure we got certified officers to take them. So it's a busy, it's the way it's been, you know, and it's something that I don't know where we're going to find or how we're going to be able to fulfill the requirements there. I guess that's why you had us over there, so we can discuss it.
So based on that letter, would that mean 2 or 3 additional FTEs?
Yep.
2 or
and you
would
got
it be
choices,
more
you know.
realistically be 3, right?
Well, and that's the thing, is when we talked, it's like, okay, we got 5 different court sessions for today, then all of a sudden, I think the state's attorney, Larry remembers that all of a sudden 2 are canceled, or the next day there's only 2, and all of a sudden there's 2 more, you know, it's just,
Fluid.
it's so hard on it. I suppose you'd have to just have somebody assigned to the courthouse, and then if the court's there, they are, if they aren't.
But you know, they're requiring, on the concept right now, we either have one of 2 ways. We're gonna have a security kiosk where nobody goes up there that hasn't been screened. Or you're gonna have to have this really flexible schedule of all the judges when they have their hearings. Because if there's 3 judges having simultaneous hearings, you would need 3 people out there. You know, so with that schedule, it would be just impossible to try and hire somebody unless you're going to hire 3 guys and they just sit up there on the bench waiting for a hearing. Because how can you say, today we have 12 hearings, tomorrow we have 1? Oh gee, I'd love to volunteer for this job, you know, so there's going to be a couple of options that you're going to have if we're going to be forced to do this, and I don't know how you would ever hire a security staff to be up there spontaneously or spur of the moment, and I don't know how you'd ever schedule it. I don't know.
The only other option is, and we'd have to figure out the expense. We already did, actually, when we talked about just having the one entrance just to the courtroom, and people that go to court only go through there, and then have the rest of the county open for register of deeds, treasurer, and the auditor's office.
So if they're using the elevator or going upstairs.
Well,
at
and
that
that's an
point.
option we
Yep.
had. I know Larry, we looked at it, and we decided right at the south entrance there, where we could possibly have something.
You could, but for the same cost, you could secure the entire building.
Yeah.
Is that, does that need 2 or 3 people, would you say?
Well, I'd say you're gonna have to, and you could hire some part-time with that, but there'd have to be 1 certified law enforcement officer there, due to the fact that if there's something that, some contraband or something that's found, that they have the power of arrest to take care of it, you know, but, yeah, I think we, how many did we figure, do you remember? Was it 5?
I thought it was 5.
That was 5, and for the year, it'd be about $250,000.
So-
$50,000.
Theoretically, it would be cheaper to secure the whole thing, because then you only need 1 certified, versus up there, you have to have 3, 1 in every courtroom, all certified.
Yep. And then the equipment, like I said, we have, it's on loan to us, and but that's not gonna last forever, and those things, you know, get kind of spendy too, so. It's just something maybe we should just, I mean, I know we had a little committee before, we'd get together and see what our options are, and, you know, it might be where we look at the structure over there, if we have to do something with just the 2nd floor up there, and where that's the only place they can come in, so we don't have have to secure the whole court, you know, so, I mean, those are options I think we need to look at.
Sure. Well, I think it's important that employees and the public too know that our 2018 budget's set. I mean, this is gonna have to come out of somewhere, and it's gonna be a hard thing to absorb, so. Any thoughts?
I just, you know, for us, right now, I just can't. Thankfully, we got where we're full now, where we have at least 2 deputies on at a time. Back when we only had 1 deputy on, you gotta have 2 on in case something happens. And we finally got there, and there's just no way with the staff that we have that we can fulfill everything. I mean, we have to do a service to the public. We got service of process. We got executions. We got prisoner transport. There's a lot of things I don't think a lot of people understand what we do, and it's
And one full-time deputy on the 2nd floor monitoring the steps in the elevator isn't gonna suffice. I mean, if he's checking as they come up, I mean,
you'd have to have it so it's secure where they have to go through a magnetometer or an x-ray machine if they have you know, to make sure nobody's carrying anything. It's got now where they got such things that's made out of fiberglass, you know, unless you have somebody that has experience and know what to look for, and that takes training. You know, it's a different ballgame.
And I don't have that codified law in front of me, but I think it would be interesting to do a little research, see what others are doing, what is expected by that statute. Is it 1 certified officer in every single courtroom? Is it, you know,
It's, you know, in the smaller courts, it's just where they call, like we've had, that's the degree we have. When we call, if we have a court trial that needs security, we actually take the machines up there, and we have the deputies there that wand, and we go through everything for everybody, make sure everybody's, you know, not armed, and the courtroom's secure. We'll lock it the night before the court and check it, make sure nothing's in there. We'll open up in the morning, check it again, then we'll let people in. You know, and there are counties that do that full time. I know Minnehaha County and I think Pennington, but Minnehaha County, like where they have theirs, it's just the courtroom. There's no other offices there. So when they go in, they're just going in for court, nothing else. You know, we're here, if we're trying to do everything, that's a lot of people that come in here. So it's just something we're going to have to sit down and weigh our option. I don't know what else to do.
all right, any questions or comments?
I agree with what you said, Rachel. I think we need to look into what, I understand we're required to provide security, but who interprets what the level of security is?
If we want to go into executive session, I can give you legal advice on my interpretation of statutes.
Okay, to see if we're meeting the minimum level, so I would move going to executive session to discuss that, because I'd like to know that.
second.
Motion from Sutton, second from Feldheim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll be in executive session. We're going to take just a 2-minute break real quick, though. Real thorough.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were in executive session for legal advice, and then the sheriff and chief deputy left, and we had a short personnel too.
Okay,
No action as a result of exact as far as the order from the courts, or 5th judicial, we were just talking about, we'll have to wait till everybody gets back, and we can kind of weigh our options, whether we want to try to raise taxes, because obviously we don't have the money to do this, what they want us to do. Try to raise taxes, or close some non-essential county office, or explore the option of closing a courtroom or something, but we're going to have to find those funds somewhere if they're going to make us do this, because we just do not have the money right now.
the only way you could raise taxes would be
Opt out.
Opt out, or put that levy on for the roads.
So we will wait and see when our other 2 comrades get back next week and have further discussions on that. Any questions? Did you have anything else on your list, Matt?
No.
Okay, Gary?
No, I'll wait till next week when everybody's here.
Okay, so you guys want to tackle E30, or should we do that next week too? Gary sent out that email with how we had met with the department heads last week. Basically, the highway shop's going to be filling beginning of the year with the E30. He's going to get a 550-gallon tank with Euler unleaded for small engines and keep that at about half fill. Landfill and fairgrounds are going to stay as is for now. Fairgrounds equipment and the vehicle age don't really match the standards for E30. So let's see, they'll have their own tanks and they're good to go. We, let's see what else. Oh, and then we're gonna put a laminated sheet in the county vehicle so that employees know where the blender pumps are if they're driving a county vehicle to it. Scott Might sent us that, so we have an updated list of folks with blender pumps. Was there any questions? Did you guys get that email?
Yep, I did. Yep, sounds
Okay.
like a good plan.
Do we need a motion to go ahead and do that, or just, is that policy, or? All right. Anything else?
Policy or?
I think just a motion
Okay.
saying that it's county policy might be helpful.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to go ahead and do that.
I move it.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So I'll just say, start using E30, at the highway department, January 1?
Yeah. They're gonna start filling, and then, in county vehicles too, so if your credit card
Oh,
gets the
okay.
blender pumps, obviously if there's not one available, they don't have to, but. Okay, any other questions from? Yes.
So that would be for all vehicles that fill up at the highway shop,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So that would be law enforcement vehicles and any other
Okay.
vehicles, that- just so,
And the
it's
list...
not just highway department vehicles. I want to make sure that
Yeah, exactly.
verified.
And
Okay.
the list contains sites throughout the state, so even if they're traveling, they can certainly try and track those places down.
And I just thought with that deal, we could put any county employee driving a gasoline-fueled county vehicle will use E30 unless the vehicle is older than 2004. Informational cards will be placed in each vehicle to reference which gas stations have the blender pumps.
So I just use that?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, that's part of it, but, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, and I already took the vote on that, right?
Right.
Okay. Any questions from the folks in attendance? Comments? All right, I entertain
Motion to adjourn.
a motion from Feldheim.
Second.
Second from Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll be adjourned until next week. Thanks a lot.